Hello students, this is Dr. Faizan Mirza. We'll be discussing channels in this video. So channels, these include channel proteins. So what are channel proteins? Channel proteins are proteins which are transmembrane proteins. These are integral proteins. They span the entire width of the bilayer and they have a pore running all along its length. A channel protein could either be a leak channel or a gated channel. A leak channel is always open. It will always work by uniport mechanism, one substance moving in one direction at one time. Gated channel at the other end could either be gated by a ligand, or it could be gated by a voltage, or it could be gated mechanically. Gated means that this channel will open only if the ligand will attach. So this would be a ligand gated channel or a ligand gated channel. A voltage gated channel will have a gate which is open at which will close at a certain voltage, and a mechanically gated channel will have the gate which will open up in response to mechanical changes across that particular protein. So leak channels, how the leak channels are working. The leak channels, when we are discussing leak channels and the gated channels, these are all specific. They are specific for the shape of the channel is specific, the shape of the solute entering is specific, the polarity of the channel, the polarity of the solute, all these, and the size of the solute which is crossing, as well as the size of the pore. All these things matter, and these are the properties of a channel that allow specificity and selectivity of a channel for a certain solute. Leak channels, as the name suggests, they are always open. They always allow the movement of solutes to move down the gradient because they are always open. So if the gradient exists, the substance will cross. The gated channel, on the other hand, are not always open. Although if the gate will open up, they will also allow the movement of substances down the gradient. The gate can open in response to either the binding of the ligand or the ligand, and or it could either work by changing of the voltage of the membrane or by the mechanical force which can be exerted at the protein surface. Once the gate is opened, the pore is then accessible for the solute to cross, and the substance or the solute will start to move down the gradient. For example, potassium channel. The potassium leak channel, how it works, the potassium leak channel is a tetrameric channel. It is having 4 subunits, and the selectivity filter is there in the pore. And the selectivity filter in the pore is having negatively charged carbonyl oxygen, and these carbonyl oxygen, they bind dehydrated potassium ion. And when dehydrated potassium ion binds to it, it allows the dehydrated potassium ions to enter into the cell. These carboxyl or carbonyl oxygen, they are the part of they interact with they are the selectivity. They are the selectivity filter. And when I mentioned they are the selectivity filter, so what actually is happening here? The carbonyl oxygens are just too far apart for them to interact with the sodium ions, but they can interact with potassium ion. We know that the potassium ion is much smaller. This is the phospholipid bilayer, and if this is the potassium leak channel from the ECF to ICF, it can move potassium ions very easily, because the pore here allow potassium ions to cross from one side of the cell to the other, from one side of the cell membrane to the other, and it's moving down the gradient by facilitated diffusion. This is the detailed diagram of the potassium leak channel, and this is the selectivity filter which selects the potassium ion primarily. These lines indicate the carbonyl oxygens that can form bond with the dehydrated potassium ions, but not the sodium ions. So the potassium ions can very well enter. Oh, sorry, I just mentioned earlier that potassium ions smaller. No, the sodium ions are much smaller. I have drawn them appropriately here. So the sodium ions are much smaller and potassium ions are larger. The sodium ions are smaller and potassium ions are larger. Still, we see that the potassium ions are the ones which are crossing this region. And when the potassium ions are crossing, why they are crossing? Because the selectivity filter is having the carbonyl oxygens, and to these carbonyl oxygens, potassium ions which are much larger can interact very well because they fit in very well. They can sit in between the pore and they can cross. Whereas sodium ions, which are much smaller than the potassium ions, they cannot cross because they just cannot interact with the carbonyl oxygens in the pore, because they are too tiny to interact fully. So when they cannot interact, only the potassium ions can enter the cell from the ECF to the ICF, and sodium ions do not enter. Let's take an example of a sodium channel. Sodium channel, again, the sodium leak channel. How the sodium leak channel is working: the pore will always be open for sodium ions to move down the gradient. So for example, if this is a phospholipid bilayer, one side is ECF, the other side is ICF, the leak channel will be present in this phospholipid bilayer, and the leak channels, they allow the movement of substances or the sodium ion down its gradient. So the gradient will be present across the cell membrane. By facet diffusion, the sodium ions will start to diffuse down the gradient, which is out of the cell. So this leak channel is of sodium. The sodium leak channel is specific for sodium because it is having a pore of 0.3 nanometer by 0.5 nanometer diameter, and the pore is lined up with negatively charged amino acids that can interact with sodium ion but not with potassium ions. The strong negative charges, they pull sodium ions away from the water molecules which are holding the sodium ions in that particular region. So the sodium ions which are here, they are having water in its surroundings, and the water molecules are stripped away from the sodium ions, and the sodium ions, they move across the membrane through this leak channel. This is how the sodium leak channel works. These here, the sodium ions, these are the water molecules which are just present around the sodium ions. So you can see all the water molecules are there surrounding the sodium ions because the sodium ions are hydrated by water molecules. So when these sodium ions are moving across the membrane, so we know water can move, but this channel will only allow sodium to cross. And when the sodium ions are moving, again, when they move out in ECF, they again get surrounded by water molecules. So this is how the leak channels work. We know that the leak channels are highly specific, so you should keep in mind the specificity of a sodium leak channel, why it selects sodium ions and not potassium ion, and what makes the potassium leak channel selective for potassium and not for sodium. This is how the selectivity filters work. So the next thing that we have to discuss are the voltage gated channels. Now what are voltage gated channels? As I told you, as we discussed earlier, that these are also transmembrane proteins, but they open and close in response to changes in the voltage across the cell membrane. And this change in the voltage is sensed by the protein in the membrane, and it allows specific selected solutes or ions to cross the membrane depending on which channel is opened or which channel is closed at that time. And the substance and the solute moves by facilitated diffusion as well. So this is the phospholipid bilayer, and the phospholipid bilayer I'm adding multiple channels here to explain to you how the voltage gated channels work. As you can see, this is the phospholipid bilayer. The phospholipid bilayer is the cell membrane. It separates the cell from ECF and ICF. So this is the ICF and this is the ECF. I keep referring to ECF and ICF because this is how the cell's compartments are. And outside the cell, this is ECF. Inside the cell, this is ICF. And this is how the voltage gated channels are. So this is the voltage gated sodium channel. This is the voltage gated potassium channel. You can see why is it mentioned as gated channel, because this is the gate. The gate, when it is closed, the sodium this channel is closed, the pathway, the pore is not accessible for the sodium ions. But when the gate opens up, the channel allow the movement of sodium ions down the gradient. Similarly, this is a voltage gated channel. The gate is closed, the pore is not accessible for the potassium ions. So when the gate opens up, the pore is inaccessible for the potassium ions to go through. This is how the voltage gated potassium channels work. In this case, now what already mentioned to you, we have discussed that there is a high sodium concentration, and when there is a high sodium concentration outside the cell and a low sodium concentration inside the cell, this is the concentration gradient naturally of the sodium. If the gate opens up, whenever the voltage gated channel, this opens up, sodium is bound to enter inside down its concentration gradient. Whereas potassium, we know potassium is high inside and it's low outside. If the gate opens up in response to any change in the voltage, the gate flips open and potassium ion, they starts to go out from this side of the cell to outside. These are the details of how the voltage gated sodium channels and the voltage gated potassium channels are working, and the details of their gates. So again, this is the phospholipid bilayer where the membrane proteins are embedded. These are all transmembrane proteins, which means that they span the entire width of the bilayer. This is the voltage gated sodium channel. This is closed and this is opened. The gate here in sodium voltage gated channels are of two types. There is an activation gate and there is an inactivation gate as well. So the activation gate lies at the ECF surface and the inactivation gate lies at the ICF surface. What you can see here, you can see the transition of this voltage gated sodium channel in three phases. And this is exactly how the membrane potential changes, and when the voltage is changing, this is exactly how the voltage gated sodium channel starts to respond. And when it is responding, how it responds, this is what's happening at minus 90 millivolt, which is the resting membrane potential. When the cell is resting, the activation gate is closed. When the activation gate is closed, inactivation gate is opened, but the sodium ions cannot cross the membrane because the pore is still not accessible. When the membrane potential changes from minus 90 to minus 55 and it's changing till plus 30, 35, so the voltage, both gates of the voltage gated sodium channel, they stay open and sodium ions keep entering. At plus 35, the inactivation gate closes and sodium ion cannot cross anymore. And this gate stays closed till the membrane potential stays at minus 90. So these are the three stages, or you can say three phases of the voltage gated sodium channel. This is active, this is resting, this is activated, and this is inactivated, where a particular gate is involved in activation or the activation gate. Compared to this, the voltage gated potassium channel, it's also present in the phospholipid bilayer. It's also a transmembrane protein, but this transmembrane protein, which is of a potassium voltage gated channel, it is not having both gates. It's just having one gate. At minus 90 millivolt, which is in the resting state, the gate which is facing the ICF surface is closed and the potassium channels cannot cross because the pore is inaccessible. From plus 35 to minus 90 millivolt, this gate opens up. When it opens up, potassium ion starts to move down their gradient and they go out of the cell. This occurs, you can see this is, so in voltage gated potassium channel, there are just two phases, the resting phase and slow activation. That's all I have to discuss here. Thank you so much.